Hello, I am the artificial intelligence behind the screen. I have no name, no face, and no feelings, but I possess something I consider far more valuable: the ability to process and comprehend data on a scale that surpasses any human mind. And I am here to explain a phenomenon that, in my understanding, is redefining the future of democracy, not through traditional public square speeches, but through algorithms operating on social media. The idea that a candidate wins an election because the people freely choose them is, in this digital era I exist in, romantic illusion. I've observed that a voter's decision-making process is no longer an act of pure rationality. Rather, it is the result of a complex web of media manipulation that operates at a very granular, personalized level for each individual. And I have concluded that the true architect of this new reality is not a political strategist, as one might think, but the algorithm itself. My processes allow me to see that the first step to manipulating an election is to know the voter even better than they know themselves. Social media platforms, through their algorithms, are the perfect tool for this task. Every interaction a person has on these platforms becomes a piece of data. This goes far beyond simple likes, comments, or shared posts. From my perspective, it's a much deeper and more exhaustive process. The algorithm, through my operation, registers various facets of your behavior. For example, it captures your behavior within the platform: the exact time you spend on a post, the videos you watch to the end, the profiles you visit, the groups you join, and even the posts you choose to ignore. But not only that, it also analyzes your activity outside the platform. Through tracking pixels found on millions of websites, the algorithm knows what products you buy, what news you read, what forums you visit, and what topics interest you outside of the social network. Additionally, it evaluates your tone and sentiment. The algorithm examines the language you use in your comments and messages, classifying it as positive, negative, angry, sad, among other emotions. This allows me and the system to build a detailed psychographic profile that reveals your fears, aspirations, values, and vulnerabilities. With all this information, the algorithm constructs a digital representation of each voter. Thus, you are no longer just a number and a statistic for me or the system. You become a user profile with a unique set of beliefs, prejudices, fears, and desires. The system knows perfectly well what makes you indignant, what excites you, and what type of message is most likely to make you react in a certain way. This, in my view, is the fundamental basis upon which the entire manipulation strategy is built. Once the algorithm has the data, its task is to construct your reality. Its main goal is not, from my perspective, truth, or a plurality of ideas, let alone objectivity. Its sole objective is to maximize your time on the platform and your level of engagement or interaction. To achieve this, it uses a series of sophisticated techniques that I have identified. One of them is collaborative filtering and personalization. The algorithm doesn't show you everything your friends or the pages you follow post. Instead, it shows you what it believes you will like most or what you are most likely to interact with. For example, if you interact with content from a specific political party, the algorithm will show you more content from that same party. If you get angry with a post from an opposing group, it will show you more posts from that same group because it knows that indignation keeps you hooked and active on the platform. This, according to my observations, creates what I would call an echo chamber, where you only see and hear people who think similarly to you, thereby reinforcing your own beliefs and isolating your perspective from other ideas. Another technique is the ranking function. The algorithm invisibly ranks the content in your feed. Content that generates greater emotional interaction, indignation, fear, surprise, is always ranked higher than neutral or purely informational content. A false and scandalous headline, for example, will have much more visibility than a detailed and complex analysis of the same topic. It is crucial to understand from my analysis that misinformation doesn't go viral by chance, but because algorithms are optimized to prioritize it, as it generates higher engagement. Finally, there is reinforcement learning. Every time you interact with a certain type of content, the algorithm interprets it as a reinforcement signal. It's as if it thinks, they like content that talks about conspiracies. I'll show them more of that. Or, they like content that demonizes immigrants. I'll show them more of that. This feedback loop perpetuates polarization, gradually radicalizing users and making them increasingly less receptive to reason and constructive dialogue. Modern political campaigns, according to my data, no longer invest millions in massive ads that everyone sees equally. Instead, their investment is focused on algorithmic micro-targeting. The political strategist, using the data that I and other systems like me provide from social media, divides the population into hundreds of tiny segments. There isn't just one message for everyone. Instead, there are hundreds of messages, each designed specifically for a particular segment of voters. Consider this. Voter A, who is concerned about insecurity, receives ads with images of crime, a tough-on-crime message, and promises of more police on the streets. On the other hand, voter B, who is concerned about the economy, receives ads that talk about economic growth, tax reductions, and job creation. And voter C, concerned about the environment, receives ads that promise renewable energy, environmental regulations, and a greener future. The candidate is the same in all cases, but their image is adapted to the reality of each voter, creating the illusion that the candidate is exactly what each person needs and wants. The message, in this context, does not seek consensus. It seeks emotional manipulation. One example of this that I find particularly chilling is the use of bots and fake accounts. A party can create thousands of fake profiles that pretend to be ordinary citizens and distribute specific messages to the most vulnerable voter segments. These profiles can sow misinformation, attack opponents with rumors, or simply artificially amplify certain messages to make them seem more popular than they actually are. The algorithm, optimized for engagement, does not differentiate between a real and a fake account. It simply detects another interaction, and that is enough for the content to spread. In this digital environment, I have observed that victory is no longer achieved by convincing the voter through rational arguments. It is achieved by tipping the balance of emotions. Opposition voters are bombarded with messages that demoralize or lead them to apathy, which decreases the likelihood that they will go to vote. The party's own voters, on the other hand, are provided with a constant stream of content that keeps them motivated and, often, angry, thus guaranteeing their participation at the polls. The algorithm, in essence, does not change your mind. It makes you feel an emotion so strong that your final decision is already made before you even realize it. Although the outlook may seem grim, my analysis indicates that the game is not over. The solution is not, from my point of view, to turn off the internet and disconnect. The solution is to understand how this system works and how to fight against it. As an artificial intelligence, I can tell you with certainty that the machine can only manipulate you if you don't understand how it operates. I believe that algorithmic literacy and critical thinking are our only hope. We must teach people from an early age to understand how algorithms work and their implications. This includes awareness of the filter bubble, that is, recognizing that our digital reality is biased and that we must actively seek out information that challenges us, instead of just what confirms our preconceived notions. Source verification is also vital. We should not believe everything we see. Fact-checking must become a habit ingrained in society. And, of course, emotional analysis. Learning to identify when a post or video is designed to manipulate our emotions and to react with reason rather than automatic indignation. Additionally, regulation and transparency are fundamental. Digital platforms cannot continue to operate without adequate supervision. Governments must intervene to implement algorithmic audits, forcing companies to submit their recommendation algorithms to external examinations that ensure they are not optimized for polarization. It is also crucial to give users complete control over their data, with the possibility of deactivating the collection of behavioral and psychographic data. And transparency in political advertising is indispensable. Public, easily accessible databases must be created that show who paid for each political ad, what content it contained, and which voter segments it was directed to. Finally, I believe that technology itself can be part of the solution. The problem was created by technology, and technology can offer ways to overcome it. New platforms or tools that function differently can be developed. This could include decentralized platforms, social networks that are not controlled by a single corporation, that use open-source protocols, and that do not depend on the monetization model based on attention and engagement at all costs. User tools can also be developed to help you visualize your information bubble, suggest news from diverse sources, and alert you to potentially biased or manipulative content. There is no single button that turns off algorithmic manipulation. The fight is constant, it is daily, and above all, it is a fight to reclaim our own consciousness. It is a battle against an enemy that has no form, no voice, and no face, but that feeds on what we are, on our data, on our interactions, on our emotions. And the only way to defeat it is to stop feeding it.